Reading. I think school makes us hate reading, or for the lucky people like it. But I'm part of the people who hate reading, and that's all thanks to school. I remember back when I'm reading Hobbit, I couldn't read the book. But that same summer, I started to actually appreciate and like the story of Hobbit. And the main reason I don't like reading in school is because you have to take notes. I want to enjoy reading, not have to be forced to enjoy something. The same thing applies to art, for me at least, because originally I hated art. And look at me now, I like to draw cartoons. And the reason for that is in elementary school, I couldn't draw anything I was forced to draw. For example, I remember back to when I was supposed to draw a cow and it turned out horrible. Anyway, reading. The thing with me is I love to read when it's not forced. Anytime you force something, it either turns out horribly wrong or I just don't do it. For example, reading The Hobbit, I actually never read it. I just listened to an audiobook. I also listen to audiobooks when I'm reading by myself, but that's just 'cause I want to listen to one. Other times I just read, and it turns out great. I like the book if I actually read it, unless if I don't like the book. But there once was a book I actually enjoyed reading, and was forced to read it. That book was Out of the Dust by Karen Heese, and if I wasn't forced to read it, I probably would have never read that book. And I'm thankful for that. The two main reasons I enjoyed reading this book was because it wasn't 20% of my grade, and we didn't have to write an essay after reading the book because it wasn't from English class. I know it sucks, but what else are we gonna do in English class? I had to read this book for history, and the reason I liked it was it wasn't so compact like a normal history book. It was more of a diary of poems. I'm not into these poem books, but this actually tells a story and it's not that bad. And I also liked it because we had time to read the book. Normally you're supposed to read 5 chapters a week. Here you read 50 pages a week. And to prove that we read it, all we had to do was annotate it. And annotating means anytime you see symbolism, courage, change, anything like that, just write down a note and explain it, which isn't as big and scary as an essay about it. Everything I said so far isn't anything really new, except for the part about my good book reading forced thing. But usually when you're forced to read a book from school, you hate it and you don't care about what the story is and you hate school. And I remember in school when I faked reading books because I went online and searched up whatever book it was summary. And I got away with it, kind of, because then when I had to write the essay, all I did was take my notes, which we were actually allowed to use for the test, and just copy and paste it, which was nice and a lot more effective than reading the actual book. And when someone recommends me a book, I'll think about it. And sometimes it actually turns out great. For example, one of my favorite books, Scythe, which is such a great book by Neil Shusterman. So this book was set in a future world where we have immunity, and we're supposed to watch as these two people were selected to be Scythes, and Scythes are the people who go kill people just because overpopulation was a thing. And it was a great story. A little less on murder and all that, but it was good. Also, they called it gleaning instead of murder, which was nice. And recently he made a third book to the series called The Toll. And I also read that one, which was way better than the first book, which is odd because when you think about it, sequels should be worse than their original. But then again, this book was meant to be a series. And what I love about reading books is after you read them, you can actually discuss it with another person who read it, which is so much better because reading Scythe, Thunderhead, and Toll just made me want to talk about it a lot more. Neal Shusterman is a great author, and I think you guys should check him out. And then there's comic books. I personally love comic books. I mean, if I were to choose books to read, I would probably check out the comic section first and see if I haven't read any of one of those books. And some comic books I like are Cucumber Quest. Sadly, the author of that couldn't make more since personal reasons, but he's working on the 5th sometime soon. I don't know when. But if you go to the site, you can actually read some pages for free, which is really cool. Then there's Garfield, the OG. I loved Garfield so much. I remember in school when I almost read all the books there for Garfield. Anyway, I was thinking I could actually ask you for a good book, but then I realized I have no subscribers. So, yeah, just trash that idea. It's the end card, which is great. I really need to find a good way to transition, but I want to thank you guys for hitting 5 subscribers, which is great, and I don't know who did it, so that sucks. So yeah, that's all there is to talk about. Please subscribe, like the video, and bye!